Hello, this is the Amherst Finance Committee. It is May 10th, and we are in the middle school for our meeting before town meeting. The first item on the agenda is the library and the information we received on the needs for repair. So I'm going to let Janice take the lead. She's our liaison to the library and has been going to their meetings. So it's yours.
Well, basically, we all got copies of this, the summary. I'm assuming everybody looked at it.
Right.
And in addition to that, I went to the trustees meeting last week to listen to their discussion. And I guess basically it's pretty straightforward. There are the two options. If they keep the library open and do the construction in phases, and that will take 106 weeks. And it'll cost a little bit more. If they close it, it'll take 43 weeks, and it will cost less. But their choice was to leave it open, and I just guess close parts off when they're working on those parts. So in addition, these are the items that they asked for, but in addition, there would be, well, this does not do the whole ADA compliance. It's only about $100,000 in here for that, and to make it totally compliant, it would cost quite a bit more. And they do want it compliant. Also, if they end up spending 30% of the assessed value, which is $4.9 million over 3 years, then they have to have it ADA compliant. This does not include costs for design or engineering. I think that's about another 12%. It doesn't include costs for asbestos or other hazardous material abatement. And then if they do part, like if they replace the skylight, that really involves more than just changing out the skylight. There's design, and then there's other structural changes. So, you know, this is kind of a starting point, but it appears that I think I heard maybe another 25%, or I don't remember an exact figure, but there will be a higher cost than what you see here to do these things when you factor in the asbestos, the design, the architect work, and all that stuff. So it brings it up to, I guess, close to what the tax impact would be for the project. So, but you know, for the project, you get more for your money, for your tax part of the money. Because this doesn't give you the teen space, the ESL space they need, in addition to the things I mentioned. So basically, I thought it would be a good idea for us to talk about this, so we could use it in or I could use it in our presentation. And I didn't feel I could say anything about it if we didn't address it as a committee. I don't know if we really need to vote again unless people change their mind or somebody makes a motion, but that's sort of...
I guess I would suggest that we have the first vote, and we supported that. It might be good to have a second vote that says we have reviewed this and we voted again to support it. I don't see a problem doing that. How do the rest of you feel about that?
That's fine. That's good.
Okay, comments about Janice's report. Tim?
Yeah. The article has no money in it.
Right.
And I think we should emphasize that fact, that I think the comparison of the renovation versus the complete project with the state funds, your analysis is if you add in some other construction costs in 88, and so the numbers get much closer. And our first position was applying for the grant is wise because we didn't know what the renovation costs were. Now we know what the renovation costs are, close to it, but they're also close. So it seems to me that we should emphasize that this vote is a no risk to the town. It will give us even more room and more time to fine tune the renovation and see if we can get the numbers, and then we can talk about that at some point. But to not go ahead doesn't make fiscal sense because we would never get the grant unless we applied for it. And that was the original position. I think I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time going through that alternative renovation piece because I think there are going to be some people who don't want to just renovate it, they don't want to do anything to the library, or they want to have a different expansion plan, that the proposal and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time going through the cost differences other than maybe just explaining that there was a renovation. Has anybody else gotten this, by the way, to town meeting? Have they gotten the renovation?
Yes.
They did, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe someone will bring it up, but that would be, in my opinion, not to emphasize a whole lot of that, but just comparatively.
I could read you my...
What?
I could read you my presentation.
Oh, great, well, okay. And that's what you're gonna do?
That's correct. Not
I'm
now.
not going to go through all these details.
Oh, good,
in my
good, good,
presentation.
okay, great.
But I thought that we as a committee should discuss that.
I see,
Before
okay.
I bring it up at all, because we didn't have this information last time we talked about it.
Right.
And I didn't feel I could say anything in this presentation because we as a committee hadn't talked about it, we didn't have the information.
I see.
Now that we have the information, I think it's good to have it part of our voting and presentation.
Anurag.
Nice presentation, thank you. Those numbers were kind of interesting to me that, you know, if you keep so 106 weeks means like 2 years. They want to close the library for 2 years in one option. And the other option, close it down for about 43 weeks.
Well, not close it down.
Partial use.
The faster procedure, is okay? The
Sure.
faster procedure is when it's closed down. It'll take longer if it's not closed down, if it's not occupied.
So what do they want
If
to
it is occupied, it takes longer.
So what do these guys want to do?
They want to keep it open and do it in phases.
Okay.
So
So
it'll take
106
longer.
weeks, or 2 years.
time.
So here's the question I have, and I don't really understand how these studies get done, but I'm not really sure why that study did not include all the other missing costs in it.
I think they were asked for specific things. I think they have a list of specific items that they were asking about. So I think.
Why were they not asking about the full cost?
Well,
What the taxpayers care about is only about full costs.
Part of it was that they only had a limited amount of money, and they could only do so much with that amount of money. So I think they prioritized for the study.
Yeah.
So I think they prioritized what they needed to know. Obviously, there's more, but when you, was it 9,000 is all they had? I think they spent.
yeah.
Yeah. So it didn't. You know,
But it doesn't it doesn't answer the average taxpayer's question,
which is.
which is what is the total cost of renovation?
This
We don't know the total cost of renovation.
isn't renovation.
Or-
This is just deferred maintenance.
Yeah, or maintenance too. I mean, you know, we don't know what the true cost of maintenance is because the study did not give us that. I mean, we
Go
can
ahead,
speculate.
Janice.
They're saying that there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I understand that. I don't want to directly dispute it, but the fact of the matter is, there is no third-party verification of how much all that
This
together
is a
would
third
cost.
party.
No, this is, but the other stuff is not.
Okay. Bernie.
I think the answer lies in the labyrinth that is the Massachusetts rules and regs around building and construction. If they were going to do a full study of all the renovation needed for the library, they would have had it gone out, competitively procured a designer, probably obtained an OPM, because that design might have led to construction. And that would have cost a bunch of money that the library didn't have. The library didn't use, my understanding is library trustees used their own money for this. It wasn't public money, it was the trustees' money. So no one came back to the town and said, we need $250,000 for a study, which is probably what should have happened with the Fort River in the first place.
No,
So
I'm understanding that. What I'm saying is, okay, so I understand they didn't have the money to do a full study, but we don't have a third-party sense as a town
That's true.
what this would really cost.
That's true.
We don't know that. I mean, there's a speculation. So when you're saying that the maintenance, deferred maintenance with all the missing costs would cost about the same as what the tax liability for the town would be of a project, though, we cannot really say that in good conscience because we don't really know what the true cost of
Okay.
these.
But we do have some pretty solid costs with what we've been given. So that might fall short of, what is it, 17 million that the town and the library has to come up with. So I think there might be a gap, but I think we have enough information to go on. I mean, all we're doing at this point is recommending that we go forward and apply for the grant. That's all we're doing, and we're saying we have enough information now that at least I'm comfortable with the fact that we're going to be pretty close to what the town's going to be asked in terms of what we have to do to bring that library up. The code information isn't there, and that's quite a bit of cost, bringing it up to code. But, I mean, everybody has to think on their
Well, it's
obviously.
bringing it up to the Architectural Access Board. That's because the code stuff is, that's a simpler proposition. When you go to the Architectural Access Board's website and you look at the rules and regs, they have minimum design standards. They will tell you how big the desks have to be, how high off the ground,
Right.
and how far apart they have to be. They will tell you all that stuff. You really need an architect, somebody who knows how to draw, to go and look at the space and then figure out what you can do with that. They just don't have the money to do that.
Right.
Or the time. It would have been better if they could have, but they can't. So we're at this point where Andy Regg's point is perfectly well taken. We don't have an independent third party that's verified the costs because the library didn't have the money in the first place to get the independent third party. Getting the grant in, however, will give us those funds.
Tim?
Yeah, I was just going to say, the way I looked at it was comparing the numbers. The proposal that's going to go to the state would be a roughly 35.6 project, less the grant of 14 if it's approved, less the fundraising would be a town taxation liability of about 16. What they did was compare just what the deferred maintenance cost is of either the 9 or the 8, okay? But Sharon sent this letter out, which accompanied it, which said, A, that did not include any ADA. Estimate did not cover asbestos and lead removal or architectural design costs, and she put in numbers of 1.8 or roughly round number 2 million. So we're talking we're up to like 11 or 12, and it didn't include anything else in terms of widening hallways, on and on and on. It just addressed deferred maintenance. So that number was a rough number of about 12 or 13 versus a 16. And to me, that was close enough that it makes sense to go ahead for the grant, and then we'll see if we can fine tune those numbers better. But that's the way I say it. I don't think we necessarily need an accurate number to make that decision.
Janice?
And one other point, that if they do make it compliant and they have to have more space in between the stacks,
Right.
which they don't have enough now, then they'll have to either have fewer stacks in that space, or they really need an addition to fit everything in, because when you make accessible, you need more space in between them. So the renovation project, expansion project, that will allow for the same size collection basically, because you'll expand the space and still make it ADA compliant.
Right.
Is that helpful?
So,
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's not, I don't think we can really get that information. But I understand the logic, but I think the people who are inclined to believe this logic will believe it. People who are inclined not to believe it won't believe it. Because there's you know, there are some people who are saying we don't need all this new stuff. You know, so if it is a difference of $5 or $7 million, that's a pretty significant difference.
Janice?
Well, we have to just go with the information that we have and provide it, and people have to make up their own mind. We can't decide,
Right.
you know, we can't just go with this person believes this and this person believes it. We just have to gather information, present it, and people just have to make up their minds.
Because basically what we would be voting is that we're voting to recommend that they go forward and put in the application for the grant. That, you know, we have some numbers. They're not, might be not total numbers, but they're enough to persuade us that it's worth going forward with to apply for the grant.
Yeah.
Okay, are we set to vote on that? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we, after reviewing more detailed renovation costs, I would recommend that we confirm our original vote that it makes fiscal sense to proceed with a grant application.
Okay, second. Okay. All right, further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5 with 2 absent. Okay, then the next item on the agenda is the
Third quarter report.
third quarter report.
Yeah, I sent this out to everybody this week. I didn't make copies for tonight's, but I'll just point out we're 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year. Our revenues are collected to date overall are 78%. The ones that stuck out at this time was Cherry Hill. We're at 35% collected overall compared to last year at this time. And we're 30% down from overall, sorry, not 35, 30. Greens fees were down by 20%, memberships by 85, and cart rentals by 37. And part of the reason from that is last year Cherry Hill opened in March, and this year it's opened in April. It was hotter than average summer last year. Temperatures were hot and it kept the golfers away, and golf participation rates continue to decline at both the regional and the national level. So that's something the town manager is going to be looking at this year as to what changes we can make. The other one that is fines and forfeits. As you know, police policy change has decreased some of the fines, and the courts have been reducing the amount of fines that need to be paid when they're passing the judgment at the courthouse. So we might find, the police might fine them $100, but the court might say $50, so that's been happening. Our investment income only shows 36%, and that's largely due to timing of when the investments come in, so that fluctuates all over the place at different times of year. Medicaid reimbursements show only 38%. We usually get our reimbursements twice a year, and our larger, once in December and once in June. And usually June is the larger of the reimbursements. And under miscellaneous non-recurring, that's as it should be. I just bring that one up because that is where the payment in lieu of hotel motel taxes for UMass is booked. And just point out that we've collected $130,853 to date, and that was for the period of April through December of 2016. Other departmental revenue shows 187% collected, and that what throws that off is the Medicare Part D reimbursement. We had a $203,072 reimbursement for Medicare D. That's not budgeted because at the fall town meeting we moved it to OPEB, so we don't budget it. It just falls to free cash at the end of the year, so that free cash is net zero. Hotel, motel, and meals tax. Some people like to know what we collect on that. And from June through February, we've collected $157,572 on hotel and $367,126 on meals tax. That's it on the revenue side, that really sticks out. Then on the expense side, everything's pretty much as it should be. Information technology is up 90%, but that's because we encumber all of their service agreements and everything right ahead of time. The Amherst Community Child Care Facility, I don't know if you remember, the last report showed a deficit of $4,882, and I was going to check into that. Well, I did, and it was a hot water heater replacement and all the plumbing associated with it, so it's a real thing. It was on this posting. Snow and ice, we're going to be about $215,000 over, which we just adjusted for with Article 4 at this annual town meeting. We're moving money around. Enterprise funds, water, sewer, and solid waste revenues are where they should be at this point in time. Transportation is on target on the expense side. However, revenues are falling behind slightly, and that's usually due to ticket volume being down because of poor meter function. And I believe the new meters are planned for August of this year.
And we're just replacing the lot meters, not the sidewalk meters, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe so. The other thing that doesn't show up on this report is regional assessment for 2017. 2016, the region's E&D was over the 5% allowed, so they have to return the difference to the 4 towns. So, so they reduced our last quarter assessment for 2017, so we'll be getting about $160,000 that'll go to free cash at the end of this year.
What's E&D?
Excess and deficiency.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like our reserve fund.
All
It's
right.
like, yeah.
But there's going to
Or
be
profit loss,
5%.
whatever phrase you want to use. Got it.
Right. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any questions? Okay, any other comments? No minutes? Okay, then I will entertain a motion. Wait, before we adjourn, thank you Amherst Media for covering us tonight. We appreciate it. And I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Thank you.
Thanks.